Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. It is Monday, June 17th, 2024, and it is Missouri week. I can't wait for this week, man. I was excited for it. I couldn't wait to get my guest on the show for tonight. But before we get into that, if this is your first time tuning in, we appreciate you for tuning into the show. And I always like to ask, where have you been all this time? It's a fun show. It's laid back. It's interactive. It's tons of fun, man. We don't just talk about hunting all the time. Anyways, the producer of the show is not with us tonight, so I'm not sad about it. I jokingly say I fired him, and I probably will fire him. No, I'm just kidding. He's off doing some work stuff. Anyways, like I said, if this is your first time tuning into the show, I do ask that everyone puts their quarter in the slot machine. And what I mean by that is to help share the show. I strongly believe hunting is a dying lifestyle, a dying sport. And with the show, we do to talk about some controversial topics and some topics that might be hard for people to get their feet wet or involved in. But I do not care. I'm going to say what I want to say. And I need your guys' help out there to share the show, help us get one new friend. That's all I ask. And for everyone that's been out there sharing the show and helping support the show, we here at Whitetail Advantage greatly appreciate it. I can't say thank you enough. It means a lot to us. And I do like to point out, though, if you use the code GP10, GP10, you can get 10% discount off Gilly Puck products. We are part of the pro staff there. And with that being said, I'd like to run a quick little video for them. So use the code GP10, get 10% discount off their products. Go check out MAGNUS broadheads. I love their broadheads very much. Make sure you get a pack of them this year. Go check out Grizz Media. You can also find all of our audio versions on anywhere you can find your podcast platforms. We are on Waypoint TV. I do have an announcement to make, though, and you'll be able to see it in the video. Carbon TV. We signed an agreement with them, so we will be on Carbon TV. We just don't know exactly when yet because we have to work on the launch date. But we couldn't be here at this point without your guys' support, all your love out there. And like I said, I can't say thank you enough. I greatly appreciate everything that everyone out there is being supportive of the show and fans of the show. I can't be thankful enough for it. So yes, we're going to be on Carbon TV, and it's an exciting moment here in Whitetail Advantage. And with us having the live show tonight, so I always forget to say, if you have any questions or anything like that from myself or the guest for tonight, make sure to shoot us a comment, and we'll pop it up during the screen or ask the question during the screen. And with that being said, enough of our boring mumbo-jumbo intro spiel. Let's get into tonight's show. Like I said, each week we cover a new state. And this week being Missouri. Austin and I have been knowing each other now for a couple of years, and we've had chances to be on a podcast together, but we just haven't had the time to actually do it. So this is our first time doing it. So when I was covering Missouri, he was the first person I asked, all right, you get first dibs. What day do you want? So with that being said, let's please welcome our guest tonight, Austin. What's up, brother?
Thanks for having me on, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, no, we finally made it work, dude.
No kidding, man. It seems like, when did we meet? Like 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years?
I think it was no less than 2 years. I mean, time's flown by, but it was no less than 2 years when we first made contact, and it's just we finally have made it happen.
Exactly. Now I remember when. Well, I'm not saying my thing is big or your thing is big, but you've blown your thing up to see where we first started here in Whitetail Advantage, and with your tactical approach outdoors page and everything you're doing there, it just blossomed into what it is now. And I don't want to get too much into it, but to see, I'm going to say this right now, I've said when we're off screen, to see where you started to where you're at now, it's huge achievement. And I don't saying I'm proud of you. I don't want that to be in a weird or condescending way, but it's just cool to see, man, of how far you've come from when we first met to, I was like, damn, he's really putting in the fucking work, man.
I appreciate that, man. I do. It has been a long grind. That's for sure so far. But I mean, it's you learn a lot during the process. You know develop the skills. You keep learning what it takes, and when you have a passion for something, and you've got something you really believe in, it's a lot easier to put that kind of work and be patient with something, and just kind of let it mature. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's been fun watching your stuff and seeing you back at it and getting into the shows and really pushing your show. And I'm excited that our paths have finally crossed.
Yeah, no kidding. I know you and I have been texting a lot. It's like, all right, let's get you on the show. Let's get you on the show. And then things just couldn't line up schedule wise. I mean, you know how it goes and stuff like
I
that.
do.
But, well, let's get into who you are. I mean, what's your name again? I forgot. I don't know who you are.
Austin Stone, that's my name.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right. Sorry. I'm so sorry about that, man.
It's on the screen, dude. It's right
Oh,
there.
that's right. It's on the screen.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to read.
I typed that in here.
Right? Austin, can you give a little background about yourself, brother?
Yeah. So I'm the owner of Tactical Approach Outdoors. Brett just mentioned that. I am from Missouri. Originally lived in Missouri my whole life up until honestly I don't even think the last 2 years, year and a half maybe. And I just popped across the lot line in Kansas. But man, I'm a public land guy. I mean, I grew up on public land, had really no other options to hunt, and just went into the grind. Our dad got us hunting at a young age and taught us how to work harder than the next guy, basically. And I've just kind of taken it from there and uh, the thirst for knowledge as to how to become more successful on a consistent basis on deer that are not only amazing on public land, but are amazing even on private land standards. So that's just it's something that's just always drove my thirst for knowledge. And obviously I'm ultra addicted to this lifestyle and wouldn't have it any other way. So I spent the last 4 years, developing Tactical Approach Outdoors to where it is now when it comes to the show and my consulting services and education. And I love sharing what I know with other folks and just helping them enjoy the outdoors more and also see more success and shoot bigger deer. It's a lot of fun seeing someone harvest the biggest deer that their life based off of something you helped them achieve. So that's pretty cool.
And to see your work kind of, I mean, I don't, what's the word I want to use here? To see your plan that you gave somebody put into place and for them to harvest a mature deer, whether it's just a deer that's like, man, they were extremely excited about, that's got to put like a twinkle in your eye, basically.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's goals are different, and standards are different. And I you obviously you work along the lines of that individual's goals, and when you see them achieve that specific goal or get really darn close to it, it's a lot of fun, and really it makes lifelong friends. So that's just it's really cool to see it, and really the entire purpose that TAO exists.
Yeah. And I might have missed it, but how long officially have you been doing your business now?
The actual business idea came about 4 years ago. So the 2020. We've had the name and we've had kind of the channels open, and we knew we wanted to do something with it, and we just weren't sure exactly how to go about doing it. And then about 4 years ago is when I had the actual business idea and had the objective and the path that I wanted to take. And then at that point, I just took off with it. So the years prior to that were spent, learning to film and understanding kind of what the hunting industry was all about, and what's important, what's not, what's missing in the industry, what audiences may be being missed, where that you could have this audience being tailored to more than another. So that's really what I spent doing before that. And in 2020 came about with the actual business.
So on a day-to-day basis, what exactly does your company offer? What do you offer to a client? So if I come to you like, hey, what do you do? How can you help me out and shoot better deer?
So what I do is whitetail consulting and property management. So that's the biggest portion of the business. Um, you know, December to May is April mostly, but sometimes in northern states you can go to May, is consulting season. And that's when, I visit a property and I develop a habitat and hunting strategy for that specific property according to your specific goals. You know what I mean? So tree stand placements, trail camera placements, food plots if you're interested in food plots, bedding area development, or improvements. You know what I mean? So I like to take as simple of an approach as possible, where you don't have to really get into it deep if you don't want to, but also you can really dive into it and spend a lot of time and money really creating this wildlife mecca of a property if you really want to get into it. And then after that, I help clients actually implement that plan if they would like me to actually help them implement it, and it's a turnkey operation. So if you do have someone that, maybe is unable to do the work, they don't have the equipment or the means or the know-how, that they want me to actually implement that plan, they could essentially, if they want to, just show up and hunt.
Huh.
So that's what I have developed and really put forward, and it's helped a lot of folks really see a lot more success.
When
That's the
someone
main
comes,
part of the business.
it's what?
That's the main part of the business.
Oh
I've got
man.
a couple other offshoots of it too. I've got multiple different streams of it.
Huh. When someone comes to you, what are you doing on the first day? How long does it take for you to kind of from start A to from point B to kind of like, all right, come and investigate it and let's put the plan together?
So it really depends on the property when it comes to overall what the vegetation looks like and terrain. So I can cover a lot of ground really efficiently and really quickly. So most properties I can have done in a day. Unless you've got a property that's really thick or it's extremely difficult to traverse, say it's really steep terrain, and it possibly will take me more than a day. Or you just have a really big property, which I had a property a couple years ago down in Alabama that was over 700 acres and of a lot of diversity. So it took me 3 days on that property. And in that time, I'm not just scouting the property and developing a plan, but I'm also spending a lot of time with the client and getting to know the client and getting to know their habits on property, what their overall hunting knowledge and experience is, what their goals are, and just a whole list of things. Because a lot of times, what they tell me is almost more important information than what I find on property when it comes to how I develop that plan for them. Because the deer hunting is pretty straightforward. It's just that how do I now tailor this plan to your goals and your abilities kind of situation. So to answer your question there a little bit better, a day typically for most of the time, a day on property, and then I'll spend a couple days after that actually putting the plan together into a PDF version, which I'll send them initially, and then I'll send them a physical leather binder with their plan in it, and it'll come with a video as well. I take video on property, and I produce a video for them of their plan. So not only do they have a physical version they can look through, it's got printouts of the maps for where each tree stand is and how to access it, when to hunt it, why it's there, just a whole detail, right? And then I could give you a video also, just kind of outlining it and talking you through it, where you could actually have your binder open, looking at it, and then watch the video and get more of an understanding. And then obviously I'm always available to my clients. It's something I feel is very important, is to always be available for follow-up questions, because I'm extremely detailed. So sometimes the detail can be at first very overwhelming until you ask a couple questions and you understand the reason behind it, and then it starts clicking. You see why the plan looks the way it does, why this is here and this is here. It all works together in a certain manner. So that's why I'm always available to my clients. I think those who aren't available aren't doing it right.
Have you had a property where it was the most successful, and have you had a property where it's just like the biggest struggle you've had, like it was just been very hard for you to kind of determine what to do? Have you had one on both sides of the scale?
Honestly, not really. It really depends on how much work the clients put into developing the plan. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
if you've only done a little bit of the work, or you're hunting the tree stands at the wrong winds, and you're accessing poorly, and that stuff I can't control, obviously. But for the most part, deer hunting, kind of no matter where I go, is very straightforward and self-explanatory. Obviously, terrain will be a little bit different, and vegetation will be a little different. So you just tweak the plan according to those differences, depending on what state you're in. But for the most part, deer are going to be deer no matter where you're at. That they're going to have very similar habits and patterns of movement and reasons for what they do. And then so when you figure out those key points that they always hit, it's fairly easy to actually put together a plan, no matter where you're at, because deer are always going to be deer at that point. And then you just change a few things depending on your region, and you get more detailed along those lines.
I said this before on other episodes, where, and this is not a knock towards you in any way, I believe what you're doing is great and it's very beneficial. If it comes across that way, I don't mean to, but I think at the same time, we make hunting a very technical, and we make it very too scientific. And I think we can, I heard the term a couple weeks ago, I think when we covered Minnesota, analysis paralysis. I think some people can just get too, like, especially like these new hunting apps that come out, they get like too ingrained into it and this and that, and they just get so overwhelmed with it. But at the same time, I mean, you said perfectly, deer, you just have to be out there, and if you're doing the right things, that's awesome. But at the same time, they're deer.
So yes, you're right. So and that's and at the flip side of that, if you're not overly detailed, you will not win on those big deer, because
Exactly.
they are extremely detailed. So if you are not better than they are at what they are doing, then there's no way you're going to win. So I feel like that there's a really good balance, because I like what you said there, because as deer hunters, we get in our head a lot and overthink things too much, where we forget about the basics. I feel like there's a fine line between being ultra detailed and prepared, and remembering to stick with the basics. That if you can learn to mesh those two things together, I feel like you're unstoppable.
Oh yeah. I mean, heck, I mean, you still got people out there. I really want to do this challenge where I walk out in blue jeans and a red flannel. That's what I
Right?
do.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've got a great idea for that, for a Christmas episode. I want to do a just a doe hunting for fun episode. Me, my brother, maybe a couple other guys, basically just walk out in freaking Santa Claus hats and Christmas sweatshirts and just go shoot a bunch of does out of a saddle or something.
I mean, I hear those stories all the time where it's like, Bill shot this 12-point buck and he just got out of work and got in his truck and he had blue jeans and a red flannel on and he was walking out there with a cigarette and his rifle, and next thing you know, he picked a log and he shot this deer 10 yards away. I was like, are you fucking kidding me, man? I spent weeks.
You got to be careful with those stories too, because a lot of those stories are just sheer luck.
Yeah,
you can't calculate luck though. You can't mimic luck. It comes luck happens, and you increase your luck through preparation.
True.
See what I'm saying? So that guy might have shot that deer, but that's the only big deer he's shot in a long time.
True.
Right. So you got to be careful how you listen to those stories, because you can't mimic pure luck.
That is a very good point.
And I want to mimic it. I don't want to shoot that one buck in 5 years. I want to mimic it.
Exactly. I'm gonna do it every fucking year, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
How far is your limit that you're gonna go to a property for a client?
Oh man, like that
Is it like
Alabama
case by
client
case
was,
basis?
the Alabama client was 12 hours away. So I've got clients in Kentucky right now as well. I haven't gone a whole lot further east than that. I haven't had a call for that yet. But I mean, I've been Wisconsin, Alabama, and over to Kentucky. That's kind of how my region so far has been spread out.
So you don't really have a limit.
Not really. That there's certain things that I know I can't really help with. I know Florida, I would probably have wouldn't be worth my time really, but Georgia would be doable. There's enough similarities in Georgia that you could make that happen. And there's a few other states. Like I said, deer, you just kind of got to change how your approach via vegetation and terrain.
What about Michigan?
Do what?
What about Michigan?
I'd come up to Michigan. I've had some people. I haven't had a client property in that I visited in Michigan yet, but I've had quite a few virtual consultations in Michigan and helped folks kind of set things up, virtually and shown them what to do and just kind of helped them out that direction. And they have seen luck doing that. That's just an easy, simpler way. If it's a smaller property, I don't want to charge a client a lot of money to go visit something, teeny tiny. I'm not in it for that kind of thing. So I'm not that I want to help you, but I'm not so money hungry that I'm just going to waste your time and money. So,
right.
But yeah, so I've had some clients out like that have wanted some pointers of kind of how to approach this buck that they've been trying to hunt, for a couple years now, and he just keeps beating them, kind of thing.
Oh, I want to have a virtual meeting with you, because this one deer I've been after named Geronimo, and my wife named him. He's been kicking my ass for 2 years straight now, and I'm hoping he comes around for this third year. On my property, at least here in Michigan, you see them for 2 years, and after that, they're gone. Either one, they're shot, they moved on to a different area, whatever the case may be. But this is my last year basically with him, so I'm really hoping, and if I don't see him this year, I'm gonna be really sad. But he's been kicking my ass for the last couple of years, and I really get pissed off because the very first photo I saw of him was 2 years ago, September 1st, and I had a trail camera right next to my tree stand, like inches away, basically.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking standing there looking up my stand, and I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Just teasing you.
I need 30 more days, man.
Oh, man. They have a way of doing that, don't they?
They're freaking assholes, man, when they do that. And it really pisses me off, too, but I love them for it.
They know it. They know it.
Let's get into your hunting tactics, your hunting style. So you're mainly a public land guy, like you said?
Yes. Yeah, so I sorry, I mean to interrupt you.
No, go right ahead.
I was just gonna say I like to stay really mobile.
Really mobile.
Yeah, I'm a really mobile guy, but whether it be a ultralight tree stand or a saddle, I'm not married to either one. So they're both tools in the bag that I like to choose depending on the situation.
Yeah. And when you're out there hunting on your own time, what are you looking for that's going to draw your eye? Just like, you know what, I got to put a stand there.
I'm a huge scrape hunter. I'm a really, really big scrape hunter. And that's something I developed over the last few years. Is the understanding about how to find that 1% scrape, right? Most scrapes are going to be a waste of time in general to hunt. A lot of them are going to be nighttime scrapes, or that big mature buck might only hit them once or on occasion, but you will find that 1% scrape that really likes to hit on a regular basis, and he will hit during daylight because it's really close to bedding, basically. So if I can find, and the reason really I go after the scrapes, because the scrapes are telling me that there's a major convergence of movement in that area, right? So if you have a huge converging point of movement, you're going to find a pretty decent scrape most of the time, or a cluster of scrapes, right? So that's what has kind of tipped me off to finding those converging points of movement, is finding those scrapes and then figuring out how to go about hunting them precisely. You know what I mean? So that's something that I've really keyed in a lot, is actually getting into scrape hunting for the most part.
I feel like scrape hunting is new and not new at the same time. Because, and when mean by that is obviously scrape hunting has been around for a while, but I feel like lately it's becoming more talked about on social media through podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, I love hunting over scrapes, but I've never really like put the time into doing it, like those mock scrapes on the ground and on the trees and whatnot. When I had the guys on from the fall podcast, they were live or die by it. That was their thing. They very much loved it.
Hmm.
So when you're hunting over these scrapes, where have you been kind of seeing what type of trees or anything like that you've noticed they love these scrapes? Where are you looking for to go into the woods pre-planning? I got to look in this area.
The every time I find a scrape that I want to hunt, it's going to be a cluster of scrapes, or it's going to be the bigger scrapes on property. Each property is a little bit different. Where in Iowa and Missouri and Kansas, I'll find car hood size scrapes, absolute just freaking mega scrapes. And then out in Kentucky, where I've been hunting, I find little dinner plate scrapes, right? But I know for a fact that that property has mega giants on it, right? So it's just learning how sign is presented on that property, and then finding the significant sign for what that property looks like, right? So if I'm finding car hood size scrapes, and then I find a dinner plate size scrape on that same property, I'm gonna walk past the dinner plate size scrape. I don't care about that one, right? So those big giant, the more pronounced scraping or cluster of scrapes directly in line, or right up against some bedding cover, is really what I'm looking for. And most of the time you've got some kind of producing oak really close to it. And a lot of times it's a white oak. It depends on the kind of area you're in. In 21, I shot 9 point on a river bottom property, a kind of marshy property where they had a lot of pin oaks, right? But the pin oaks that were producing at that point, middle of October, was only in this about 100-yard stretch up against this really thick bedding area, where they had just a 2-bound reach to that bedding area. They're gone, right? If they're really quick escape routes, but producing food right there nearby. And I went in and hunted it on a north wind, so a cold front hunt and my access was from around from the back, water access, and I had perfect wind all day, and they came from basically from around the corner of that bedding area. They stayed along the edge of that bedding area, which is why I hunted that edge of the bedding area. And on the corner of that bedding area is usually where you find a converging point of movement. There is a cluster of scrapes right there. So I can't really say that there's a specific tree that they like to scrape more. That's very property specific. But usually it's underneath the more preferred feed tree is what I would say I'm looking for. It's either up against, either they're scraping the exact tree or they're scraping a nearby tree that's really close to it.
How are you setting up your tree stand in relation to one of these scrapes? So it's like, all right, this is the scrape I like. How close are you putting it near this bedding area? How close are you putting it near that scrape? How are you setting yourself up for success with that tree stand?
Well, to give you an idea, that the last 4 bucks I've shot, the furthest shot I've had is 20 yards.
That's insane.
so the last 3 bucks I've shot, each of them being on a scrape, basically, has been 10 yards. I got
Oh, look at the little kitty cat.
photo bomber. I got a photo bomber.
Photo bomber.
Holy cow. Hope you guys don't mind cats.
That's hilarious.
He likes the conversation.
Apparently, he needs to join in. Let's give him some headphones and a microphone.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. But yeah, man, I mean, I if I have good cover and I have good wind and access, I'll hunt on it.
Mm.
So it really just depends on the kind of tree I'm able to get in.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by a cat because I feel like she's going to start. He's going to start patching at the shade or shadow.
I know. That's hilarious. He's probably looking at birds or something outside. Add some entertainment to the live show. See, this is what the fun part about the live shows.
Exactly. You don't know what's going to happen.
You just never know what's going to happen. I love it.
I just feel like the paw is going to come and just smat at the shadow or whatever.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's looking at his own shadow.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
So where is I going to go with the next question? Now I lost it.
Well, we were on how close do I set up to
That's right. That's right. I have this one area in my woods, and I talked about it on previous episodes where it's kind of like this little opening and like a little circle opening basically. And I know it's a transition zone from their bedding because I have the doe's bed on one side, and then I go down a little valley, and then it's up top with me, and then you have a side hill behind, and then the bucks like to bed behind that giant hill, and there's a food plot kind of on the other side by the does. Right where I'm at, in the smack dab in the middle of all three of those, is where I have a stand, and I seen like within a giant row, like basically an L, like rubs across all these trees, little small ones, big ones, and it's just all up and down this one little corridor. And I feel like I'm in a great spot because I'm in this nice little opening, but at the same time, I feel like I'm hurting myself because I feel like if they're not going to want to come into that huge opening as much, they're going to most likely want to be sticking around on the back side of the wall of the hill. I mean, and stay in more of that thicker stuff, and then kind of come out at the last second up on the valley, up into the food plot. Should I change my hunting setup then? Because I feel like I'm in a great spot. Don't get me wrong. Where I had my big deer fish hook, I shot him right where I was at. I feel like I'm in a great spot, but I could have missed him. And I feel like he kind of came in some other areas where it's more of a thick area.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? I need to move my area, move it closer into the does, closer, because I can't go closer with the bucks because that's just straight up a hill.
Yeah. What's do you know what the scraping looks like inside the thicker brush? You know what the converging movement looks like in the thicker brush?
There's a lot of bedding area. They bed in there, and then there's there's trails that lead right up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, like if you put me right smack dab in a square,
Yep.
basically one side and the bottom side of that square is rubs.
Rubs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I always err towards brush and cover. You know, that transitional cover. And that's another reason. I mean, I kind of joke that I said on top of scrapes, but a lot of it's because it's in the thicker brush. And my shots are pretty limited. So, 20 yards was my longest shot of the last 4 deer I've killed. And I mean, in a lot of places, I'm hunting maybe a 20 to 30 yard max kind of shot just because of the type of brush I'm hunting. So, if you can find, I like that the rubs are there. I always like to have rubs nearby, and that's something I pay attention to. But it's more in the line of I'm paying attention to it to know that there's a decent buck in that area and possibly bedding in that area. And then I'm going to find the scrape that's adjacent to his bedding cover and in that thicker transition cover. And that's what I'm going to be hunting more than the rubs per se, personally.
Yeah, because I feel like I need to move my stand closer to this thicker area, and I'm right next to it because I feel like
Yep.
if I was to move my stand a little more to the west, I'm gonna be more in that thicker stuff, and I'm gonna be limited in my shots. But I can pull a shot off there if I was really to work in some
Yep.
shooting lanes. But if I was to look east in my stand, I had that huge opening that I was hunting, and I can shoot up to 60 yards. I
Mhm.
can shoot up into that stuff anytime.
Yeah. And I always try to set up for a close no-brainer shot because when you're in a hunting situation, too much can go wrong, kind of thing. And that's how I like to set up. If I can make a shot if that buck walks in on a trail that I can make a shot with my eyes closed, like that's how I want it to happen. Because sometimes it's just shit just happens sometimes. You know what I mean? So especially in those hunting situations. So that's another reason I do like to set up for those no-brainer, easier, I must say easier, knock on wood here, easier shots, just because, if something happens, there's a little less room for, less room for error. Yeah, less room for error there. So that's always why I set up for those closer shots versus trying to stretch them out. And then two, it's just where I tend to find the bucks themselves. It's always in the tighter cover. So kind of no matter if I try to stretch my shot out, they're not there anyways. So it does me no good to sit there just because I can shoot it further. It's just I have to move into the transitional cover anyways.
Right. I remember watching this video where it was produced by MSU Deer Lab,
Hmm.
and they called it it was something desert. I can't remember exactly the phrase that they used, their terminology they used, but I know the word desert was involved in it. And they would take one of their decoy bucks, throw him smack dab in the middle. But yeah, why would he want to be here when he can see 360 around him and feel like he's wide open? But they moved it into this thick cover area. You couldn't see him at all, but yet they moved the camera up like 5 inches and he's right there. So he's going to feel great, comfortable and stuff like that. And he's got little escape routes through there, like a little
Yeah.
fucking bunny rabbit.
Hmm. And they can disappear real quick in that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing I have seen, on client properties is, and I've seen also, a lot of people talk about is trying to force deer to do something that you want them to do as a hunter, right? But what you're doing is you're sacrificing him feeling safe doing it. So if he doesn't feel safe doing it, he's not going to do it. No matter how good your food plot looks, he's not coming out there during daylight because he has to travel 50 to 100 yards of open field to get to it, right? So where if you would have just butted your food plot up against the tree line and shifted your stand closer down, instead of sitting way up here just because you can drive your UTV to it, you know, sit down there where he wants to be anyways. Go use the property in a manner that how he already wants to use it, and then you spice it up a little bit just to encourage him to use it more during daylight, and then you hunt it smart, and you can kill him most of the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of hunters, and this is just me thinking, whatever, I'm playing devil's advocate. I think hunters, they might get too lazy and they bend the will of the deer to them when they need to start bending their will to the deer.
And
And
that's something I think really is an advantage coming from a public land perspective. Because I have to bend to the deer no matter what, period. I have to bend to the deer. So if you have a private property where you're able to control the pressure and you control the type of food that's on your property, control your access, and so many other factors that you can't control on public land, if you can control those things in a manner that he already wants to do, and cater to how he already wants to use the property, you're going to be successful every single year doing that, no matter what buck is in the area. So of course you're going to win. You're going to lose, right? The buck's going to win. There's a reason he's old, is because he's smart, right? It's not
right.
a given, but if you can control all the things that you can't control on highly pressured ground, a lot of times you should be able to win. And that's the thing is I feel like a lot of folks, like you said, get caught up, is you can't will a deer to do something that he does not feel safe doing. It won't happen. And you can't compare what a doe and a young buck do and think that an older buck is going to do that same thing. Those two types of deer are going to let you get away with a lot more stuff than that big old mature buck will. So you can't see that, hey, does don't care if I do this. Well, yeah, duh, they're a different kind of animal. So that but when's the last time you actually saw a big buck in this area doing what you're doing? And that's usually the answer.
I know there's a lot of time out there on my property, well, where I will try to like clear up paths for them to come up to me.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, it's like, all right, I did all that work, and then they come from a different direction. It's like basically a giant middle finger to me. It's like I'm trying to make it easy for you and me. Just follow the
Yes.
fucking path that I created for you, and
And
it's least
yeah,
resistance for you. But they're like, nah, I'm gonna go down the hard route and come this way and surprise you.
right. They have a way of doing that. They have a way of doing that. And though during daylight, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, maybe not nighttime. You made them an amazing trail for them to use. Like, heck yeah, man, this is a perfect trail.
And then you see the little one come through, and well, first you got like your tree stand there. It's like, all right, I can't see back there, but I hear something going. All right, sweet. That's going to be a good one. And then you look back, and it's just a stupid fucking squirrel. And you look back, and it's just a stupid spike. And you're like, I'm going to toss my bow at them. Now I get pissed. It's like, you ever get those times where you're in those situations where it's like you're hearing it come, you're like, oh, it's gonna be something good. I know it's something, and it turns out to be something nothing, and you're just like, I'm gonna throw my entire bow at you for just making me wait 10 minutes to see that you were just nothing.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. I've had that happen with hunters sometimes. Come in, I've been sitting all day, and then this dude comes in. And I didn't hear him come in. I didn't even know he's there. And he starts grunting, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that sounds a little funny, but at the same time, that kind of could be something. So it's like, you get your bow and you get your camera ready, and you're like, all right, and you just start fixating from the direction that came from, right? And then some time goes by and you don't hear any leaves crunching, and you're like, well, and then you hear it again, you're like, oh, really? Like, at that point, you knew exactly what it was, because then you're actually listening for the sound now, and then you can hear that funny grunt tube sound.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, daddy come, man. He's probably less than 100. He's probably 50 yards away, and he has no clue I'm here. I can't see him." So,
Oh man,
like, oh man, Oh yeah,
God,
that's a fun part though, dude. That keeps you on your toes. Kind of breaks up that full day hunt sometimes.
right. Let's get into the actual Missouri. So, what's it actually like to hunt Missouri? First, so let me ask this. That's kind of a broad question there.
Hmm.
So, an out-of-state person wants to come there and hunt. What are some things that they should know? Like, what are your seasons like?
So season opener, September 15th, and we can hunt till January 15th for archery. That's archery season. Rifle season is the 2 weeks, middle of November time. It usually starts, I want to say 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving, I think is the time. The 2 Saturdays before Thanksgiving is usually when opening day hits. Um, but the cool part about Missouri, what I love about Missouri is the amount of diversity and hunting availability that it has. And really for, an out of state hunter, you've kind of got your pick of areas to choose from. You've got a lot of great agriculture hunting, you've got some big woods style hunting, you've got a lot of marsh ground that you in river bottom ground that you can hunt. And I mean, I've said for a long time, if Missouri would start managing the deer in a manner that Kansas or Iowa does, Missouri would beat them hands down every single year with the type of deer that that get harvested from Missouri. But Missouri also has a larger herd than Iowa and Kansas, right? So which helps with the tag availability. And Missouri really wants to kill a lot of deer during their deer season, which is the reason for it. So no, I mean, I think in a lot of ways Missouri is one of the better states to hunt. And you have kind of your pick of styles of how you like to hunt, whether it be, like I said, river bottoms. You got some big hardwoods, big woods type of hunting, and you've got ag.
I think when you think, at least for me, when I think of Missouri hunting, I compare it strongly to Iowa. Like it's
Hmm.
extension of Iowa because, I mean, they're next door neighbors, and they just both produce those mega giants.
Hmm.
Iowa, their gun season starts later in the year, so as bow hunters, you get to get into the rut.
Hmm.
But in Missouri, you don't. So I guess my question with that is, if Missouri and Iowa have completely two different seasons, and in my opinion, like you said, I kind of was agreeing with you before you stated that Missouri is kind of like that number one state where they can produce the giant deer on a more regular, continuous basis.
Hmm.
How come would moving the gun season out of the rut area help, or is it other factors that might help Missouri better?
I think that would probably be the best thing to do, and that'll ruffle a ton of feathers. But I think that would be the best thing to do, because a lot of people, you go right back to what we talked about earlier about the sheer luck. A lot of guys who put in zero work throughout the year go out, shoot their buck in the first, hour of daylight, because they can reach 400 yards with that rifle in a time when that buck is his most vulnerable. He's doing really stupid stuff at that point, and he's doing things that he typically would not do. So, and then you go out there with a rifle while he's doing it, and you can shoot him from a long ways away. With so, um, I think that would probably be the best thing to do. But like I said, Missouri also tries to harvest a lot of deer during their year, so that's another reason that they do it. And it makes sense that they do it in that manner. But if you were to if you just push it back a couple weeks, even it less bucks, big mature bucks would probably get harvested during that time, and you would see an interesting number of deer that get shot. And it's interesting size of deer. I mean, it would probably produce some ridiculously sized animals. It
Yeah,
already
I feel
does. It already
yeah,
does.
I feel like already now they produce the
Yeah,
megas already,
it
but
already does.
add that factor into it, and you just be like,
Mhm.
I get to shoot 200-inch deer on a regular basis, and I mean, don't get me wrong, seeing those type of deer, they're like unicorns. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
at least in Missouri, I feel like you can see an average of 180 on a regular basis.
I wouldn't go that far. That 180 is still a tough one to get to. But I will say, if you hunt hard enough, you could shoot a 140 pretty good. Now, I'm not going to say easy, but you have a really good chance of shooting a 140 to 150 out here,
What,
and you might
what,
see something bit bigger too, because they're moving. So,
what is your tag limit like?
um, tag limit, you've got 2 bucks you can harvest between. You either can shoot both archery, and only one of those archery deer. You can only shoot one archery buck prior to gun season, or you shoot one archery buck and one rifle buck. And then it's kind of goes county to county, and if we're talking public land, property to property, at whether you can even use a doe tag. A lot of public land in Missouri, you can't use a doe tag anymore, which really sucks.
You can't use a doe tag on public land in certain areas.
In certain areas, you can't use a doe tag on public land. So it's really cut down a lot of does from being shot, because you have to use your buck tag to tag that doe. You have to use your any deer tag to tag that doe.
And then you can only use one of your tags with one archery tag.
You can shoot both bucks with archery, right? You get 2 any deer tags with archery, but you can only tag one of those bucks prior to gun season. So you can tag one of those bucks prior to gun season, and shoot one during gun season, or shoot one after gun season with your bow, right? Or you shoot 2 bucks after gun season. Once gun season is done, you can harvest both bucks with your bow. So it's that the only restriction there for your 2 buck limit, the only restriction there is you can only take one of those bucks prior to gun season, and you can only ever harvest 1 buck with a gun.
Well, that seems. What? So, like, if I'm sitting there in my tree stand, I got 2 of my target bucks. I shoot one of them. 10 minutes later, my other target buck comes out. Oh, he's right there. Nope, sorry, I can't shoot you. It's not gun season yet. Seriously?
Yeah, you can't shoot that second buck if it's prior to gun season.
That just seems.
You can only tag that one, and they're doing it. They're doing it so bow hunters don't kill off
Overshoot them all.
But bow hunters don't overshoot the bucks prior to gun season. And okay, I mean, I don't have an issue with that, but yeah.
Okay. I can see that point. All right. I'm not going to be like, I guess it's just shocking to see, or it's like for an out of state person to hear that right away. Like, for my reaction, it's like, what? No, I'm going to shoot my deer right there.
Well, yeah, and from a resident's perspective, that's great, because then you don't have a bunch of non-residents coming in shooting 2 bucks prior to season and, and leaving, and you get basically all of your resident herds killed before gun season even begins.
Okay,
so look at from that perspective. I totally understand the non-residents perspective, where it'd be really nice to be able to go in and harvest 2 bucks in that hunt, right? That week hunt.
Yeah.
Then on the flip side of things, from a resident's perspective, having a few thousand non-resident hunters come in and harvest 2 bucks, it puts a real kicker on the herd.
I mean, I feel like I've heard other
So
states.
like I see both perspectives to it.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard other states do some type of setup like that. But I guess it's only odd to me because I don't live in Missouri, so it's new to me. But I get both sides of the coin on that. I just think, though, maybe they could put like an asterisk there or something like that, where it only applies to non-residents, and as a resident on your own property, or they can make special circumstances for it or whatever. Because I mean, I've had that situation where I've seen one of my deer that I shot, and then like half an hour later, I saw this other one. I never got a shot off on it, but I would have shot him if I could.
Yeah.
But to be able to sit there with my tag in my back, I mean, you hit one chance at these deer, and don't get me wrong, Lee Lakowski and all of them, you get all these countless opportunities. But for this guy that can only go out there on his 2 days off out of the week, and he just has a great day, and for him not to be able to shoot that second deer, and he has the ability to do it, now he's got to wait. What are the freaking odds of him seeing that world-class deer again down the road in gun season or after gun season? Yeah. Like 5%.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, and that's the thing, back in 21, I harvested that 9-point, I think it was October 15th. And I had some other big bucks on, that I was on that I couldn't hunt until that November 13th kind of thing. So I've got a month. And so at that point where it goes into is just information gathering. You know what I mean? Doing your part to just do some scouting and stay on them, stay in the game.
Yeah.
And then the moment you get the green light, you jump in and go get them. So I mean, it's just, and that's the, and on that other side of the coin, I love that week of Thanksgiving. I think that third weekend of November is arguably the best time to kill a mega giant. And it's just that they go back to similar pre-rut behaviors with a little bit of the rut movement incorporated in it, and the weather's cooler, and it's just, I've had some of my best hunting at that during that period of time. And actually that 21 period, I shot that 170 in Missouri. During that actually during that second, it would have been the second weekend of rifle. I went in, this is an archery only property. I shot him on. So I shot him during rifle season with a bow. But I saw in an hour before I shot him, I had a 190 come through that I never got a shot on. I got him on camera. That's a cool video, by the way. But yeah, he was walking up the ridge, ears pinned, hair stood up on his back, just a ridiculously sized deer, just insane. And then an hour later, that 170 10-point comes in and gives me a 20-yard shot while he's chasing a doe. So I mean, it's just that that was the biggest, two of the biggest deer I've ever seen on stand, and I saw them an hour apart. It was insane.
Wow.
like similar situation, but I only got a shot on one.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I already tagged my second buck for that year, so I couldn't even chase the 190.
Oh, that's a huge bummer.
Because I shot that 9-point October 15th.
Yeah.
Shot the 9-point October 15th, which left me one buck tag. And then I shot that 170 10-point November, I think it might have been 23rd. I can't remember exactly what the day was there. But shot him almost a month later, maybe been the 18th, I can't remember. But almost a month later, basically. And after that, I was done because I had my 2 tags filled. So I couldn't even chase that 190 non-typical that was running around that I saw. Because you can bet if I had both tags in my pocket, I shot that 170, I'd have been out there the very next day chasing that other buck because he was on some hot does in that area. So if there is a chance that if I put some time in, I might have killed him. That would have been insane. Insane.
That would have been a hunting story for the ages.
Dude, yeah.
I can see also too where you can kind of use that as motivation where you shoot your one deer and you have another deer that you're after and whatever the size may be, and you see him and it's like, oh, it pisses you off, but now I have to wait. So now I'm motivated to really make sure I get you later down the road. So you can really use that motivator, or it can either make you or break you at that time. And I would use that motivator.
Yeah. And I love that because I like using it as a chance to really learn. Because
Mm.
if you get a chance, if you're on a deer of that caliber, that's such a unicorn type of deer. If you can get on a deer of that caliber and really learn him and learn his habits and why he does things that he does and where he does them, you can take that information and use it down the road just to help you understand. So the next time you get on a deer of that caliber, you think back to the habits that that other buck had, even though you didn't harvest that buck, but you learned a lot. You take what you learn from that, and the moment you get a chance on a deer of similar caliber, you think back to those experiences and the information that you gathered, and you put it towards this deer that might get this deer killed. You know what I mean? So like that's that's how I like to think about it, is that even though I didn't get a chance to hunt that buck, I got a chance to learn from him. And what I learned from that deer could help me kill giants down the road because of the information I gathered.
Right. And I don't think that's all it is. It's just a learning curve and trying to better yourself in any way.
Yeah.
And it's never a point where you need to uh, kick yourself while you're down, or when you just seem like it's a bad luck after bad luck scenario, or it just
Mhm.
seems to happen over and over again. That's the moment where you really got to take a step back and look and realize, all right, am I doing anything wrong? If I am doing anything, what if I am doing anything wrong, what am I doing wrong? And how can
Mhm.
I do it to motivate myself to learn and to do better and make sure that I use this downfall as my new upfall,
Yep.
so to speak.
Absolutely.
So
That's perspective, dude. That's
yeah.
that right there is called perspective. You know what I mean? And a winner's perspective will always learn from those failures.
I know I've said it on episodes before where I was going on a string of 2 to 3 years where I didn't even see a freaking doe. So I was like, I'm getting pissed. I wanted
Mhm.
to throw my bow up against the wall. I'm like, I quit hunting, this and that. And I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I really love hunting. I really want to get after another big deer. And so it's like, I basically threw everything out the window that I learned over my dad taught me and stuff like that. It's like, all right, I'm really learning from step one, reading all these books, and I was going out into the field and really doing these winter scouting and really learning my property, and not even reading books about just general deer, but also reading deer books about uh, trees, bushes, and all this other stuff, and just constantly just what can I absorb in
Yep.
and basically digest, and it's helped me out tremendously. And don't get me wrong, I still have those moments where it's just like, fuck, what am I doing wrong? I can't. For instance, this deer Dramo, he's been kicking my ass. It's like, what am I doing wrong? I can't get a sight on him or anything. But as long as you take a step back, breathe, and motivate you from that of you just doing something wrong, which you're not, but just use it to help better yourself in the long run.
Absolutely. I mean, the years that I've got my butt kicked have definitely been the years that I've learned the most, 100%. And I leave those years just on fire going into the next season. I mean, it's just it's yeah, I just use it as fuel.
Same here. Yeah. And then I get my bow. I'm like, all right, I'm not letting this happen again. Or I'll shoot a deer and I miss him right underneath the stomach. Or it's like, I'm not letting that happen. And for anyone that's out there that shoots with a bow and they say, well, I've never missed a deer with my bow, you suck. Well, one, you either haven't shot as much shot opportunities at a deer, or you're just not hunting enough.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, let's whatever. Anyways. Awesome. We're nearing the end of the show here. I always like to ask my guests, was there a story or a topic that you didn't get to share or talk about tonight before I let you go?
Oh man. Um I mean, I can't really think of anything really off the top of my head. I know we were hitting Missouri pretty hard. I guess was there anything that you wanted to touch on, like a tactic that you've been interested in, going into Missouri as a non-resident, anything along those lines?
Is there a law there that you would love to see removed or changed?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll say that trail cameras on conservation land. It's not all public land is conservation land. So on fish and wildlife, you can use cameras, but the and this keeps getting banned in more and more states. Which okay, whatever. But the trail camera bans are. I know I have learned a significant amount about deer habits and behavior from trail cameras, and it has made me a significantly better woodsman and hunter. So I know for sure that would be something that would be, as more states continue to ban. I want them to come back. Let's go.
Exactly.
You can keep cell cams. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to me if you want to do it like that. But I know personally, I have learned a significant amount of information that I'm going to use for years to come because of information I've gathered via trail camera.
I can't remember what state it was. Is either Iowa or Mississippi or Minnesota. It's one of the three.
Mhm.
I can't remember, but you
Iowa
couldn't.
just did it.
Well, you couldn't leave a trail camera out past dark.
Iowa on
It was
public.
Iowa.
Yeah, they just did that this year on public land. You can't leave a trail camera overnight,
Yep.
and you also can't use a cellular camera on a property that you're hunting. So like a private property, you can't use a cell camera on that property if you're hunting it. And then on public land, you can't leave a trail camera overnight, period.
First off, it's my fucking property, so if I want to leave a fucking clown and make it whatever, you can fuck off. Two, I just don't get you can't leave a trail camera out past midnight because more. First off, that's where you're getting a lot of your information from because they're not going to be moving through daylight majority of the time, so you're going to see a lot more activity through the nighttime. But basically, you're walking out in the morning, setting it up, and having to come back again, disturbing the area to pick it up. And then if you want to do it the next day, you're constantly going back and forth day in and day out to do that. I think that's just so stupid.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean, it's a hassle. No one's gonna leave trail cam. No one's gonna walk in the morning, set a camera, and walk out that evening. You're leaving so much disturbance in that area, and you're not going to gather the information you want to gather anyways. So,
right.
yeah, I mean, it's just a general, just a general ban
I,
at
I
that
think
point.
I think each state. I mean, I don't know exactly all the rules yet on for Michigan with their trail cameras yet. Obviously, I need to relearn on that, but I feel like each state is just kind of taking this stance on ban of trail cameras to a whole
Mhm.
extreme, and it's like, what for? I mean, I get how some people are using it for cheating and this and that, but that's like 1%. So you're basically setting this rule for this minority, this small group of hunters, when all we do it as, all right, I'm just trying to get information. I'm not going out there like, oh, cell camera. All right, sweet. All right, I got this major buck out there. All right, I'll be back. I'm going to shoot this deer. No, you're just getting information. That's what you want. You want to see what's moving through the area and this and that. That's it. I'm not using it to fucking cheat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are people that have taken advantage of the technology and used it poorly, but I don't feel like that's the majority of people. And for me, when I hunt as a non-resident in other states, where it's allowed, trail cameras significantly um, streamline my scouting process because now I'm able to take that 10,000 acre property and ignore half of it because in that short window of time that I have on that trip, because everything was dark. I had two locations that were completely bare and barren of movement that I've been seeing, right? And then these other two locations that have had active movement. So now I've just streamlined my 5-day trip essentially and spent it on the two locations of the four that are actually producing deer. So, I can definitely understand it in the manner of some people using it poorly But I do agree that most people aren't.
Yeah. And I think each state has their own set of rules and laws that they put into place or they need to change. And
Mhm.
a lot of hunters out there were like, what the fuck for? Why you have that into place?
Yeah.
And I know here in Michigan, a lot of us as hunters were like, why? Why are you making that rule? And we like half the time they don't even want to listen to us. Jesse Anderson, I had him on the show when we were coming to Michigan. He said it perfectly. It's like they want to kill all the deer and just let them basically starve to death and this and that.
Mhm.
And they just want to fill their pockets with money.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, we had Ted Nugent here a couple years ago about baiting, and I have my own personal stance on baiting, but for them to ban baiting, and because of this happened when that blue tongue and that virus was going around,
Yep.
when it really strong back then, and they banned it because they didn't want the spread of that continuing.
Yeah.
He made a great point where, well, they're constantly sharing spit. So for us to ban baiting, because you don't want them to share spit. So what's the point of an apple tree that they're all sharing and eating the same apple?
Mhm.
What's wrong with that compared to me bringing apples and putting the same apples out there? They're constantly sharing spit. Fuck, they lick each other on the nose and tongue all the freaking ding dong all day long. So
they're herd animals. They're social animals by nature. They are going to congregate no matter
Yeah.
what we do as humans.
So you have Ted Nugent come here, and for him to give his point, and I'm not Ted Nugent, very polarizing man, very well known in the hunting community. If you're not going to listen to Ted Nugent, they're not going to listen to anyone here in the state of Michigan. I can tell you that.
Right.
So that's just a little snippet of my feeling. That's just Michigan. Yeah, it needs a change. I feel like I need to move because hunting here is strongly dying. But anyways, now I'm
And then you
getting.
got the wolves coming in too. That doesn't help at all.
Oh my gosh, the wolves are just terrorizing everything, and especially up there in the UP. And then we recently had here in Battle Creek in the southern part of the state where this guy shot a wolf thinking it was a coyote, and that's been this whole big ordeal now, and he's facing charges, and
oh man,
it's been a whole thing. And
yeah,
there's these 19 and 20-year-old kids up in Kalkaska County, and they got charged with they had a whole bunch of counts of malicious cruelty to animals charges faced against them. And yeah. Michigan, we have some problems. And you know, on that on your gas light where you see that blinking gas light where it's like, you need gas, it's basically here us in Michigan, we need help fix our hunting now, and they don't want to do anything about it.
yeah, I hear you there.
I need to move to Missouri or some shit.
Come on down.
Well, Austin, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy day and busy family to get on with us on the show. I greatly appreciate it. For anyone that wants to reach out to you and your business and just reach out to you in general, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all Tactical Approach Outdoors. My website is tacticalapproachoutdoors.com. And, if you ever have any questions about anything, don't ever hesitate to send me a DM, send me an email, and, leave a comment on a post or a video, anything. If you have questions or comments or anything along those lines, we'd love to hear from you. So everything is Tactical Approach Outdoors.
And for anyone that can't find him, just our part of our audience out there, just reach out to us and we'll help get you in contact with Austin out there. So again, Austin, I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. I know obviously we're not going to be one and done talking, so we'll have you on again at one point. And I know I'm going to having you doing some virtual stuff with me on my property because I can use some help. I need Geronimo on the ground. If I go another year, I'm going to basically cry myself to sleep.
Oh, we can't have that. So
no. I can use all the help I can get.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, but I'm glad we were able to finally make this happen, and I know I'm going to look forward to the next one.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So Get back to your family. Get back to your rest of your day. I hope you have a great day, man. And I'll talk to you later, brother.
Sounds good, buddy. Have a great night.
See ya. Oh, man. What a great guy. Yeah. Austin and I have known each other now. We met through Go Wild, and we've known each other now for a couple of years now. And we talked about doing a podcast episode together and just couldn't get everything aligned up perfectly. And we were finally able to do it. So I know when I was covering Missouri week, like I said, he was the first one I was going to ask. So I was very much looking forward to him finally on the show. Great guy. And like I said, when we first met each other online, he was we were both in like our infancy stages basically of our content pages, and to see where he's at now, where he's grown with it, it's just an amazing to see how much work he puts in. And he's like me, he's a very attention detail oriented type of guy, and to see where he's at now, it's just amazing. And I'm glad to be friends with him. And if anyone needs his contact information, make sure to reach out to us, and I'll try and get you hooked up with him. But with that being said, that will conclude tonight's show. Make sure you go check out Magnus Broadheads. Go check out Grizz Media. And like I said, we are going to be on Carbon TV, and we can't do it without your guys' support. So we greatly appreciate it. We signed the agreement a little while ago. Now we're just waiting on a launch date. We're going to be working on that with them. And we're extremely excited. And like I said, I can't say thank you enough to all the fans and all the support out there. I greatly appreciate it. The team here greatly appreciates it. So go check out Gilly Puck. Use the code GP10. Get 10% off their products. Also, make sure to put your coin in the slot machine. Help share the show. For everyone that's out there that's been doing it, I greatly appreciate it. I can't say thank you enough. Anyways, that will conclude tonight's show, episode 80. We'll be back tomorrow with episode 81. We're going to be taking a trip up to Michigan. Well, back here in Michigan with Adam, and covering some Michigan hunting again, because I was a little heated about that. So anyways, thank you everyone out there, and we'll make sure to tune in for tomorrow's show, episode 81.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.